Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be taking a close look at a collection of essays called I Miss You When I Blink. It's by Mary Laura Philpott, and I think you're going to find her observations about life pretty relatable.
Yeah, it's funny. I'd never heard of her before I started prepping for this deep dive, but then I saw she's been published in the New York Times and the Washington Post.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a big deal.
Yeah, no kidding. She's got a real knack for finding the humor and the deeper meaning in those everyday moments. The kind of stuff we all go through but maybe don't always stop to think about.
Exactly. And in this collection, she tackles some pretty big themes. Perfectionism, motherhood, career pressures, just that whole process of figuring out who you are as an adult, all the fun stuff.
Right. And she does it in such an honest and engaging way. It's not like she's preaching from some pedestal. She's right there in the trenches with us, sharing her own struggles and triumphs.
That's what makes it so relatable, I think. You feel like you're having a conversation with a friend, not listening to a lecture.
Totally. So, for today's deep dive, let's unpack some of the key insights from I Miss You When I Blink. The stuff that really resonated with us and hopefully will spark some interesting thoughts for you as well.
Sounds good. Where do you want to start?
Well, how about with perfectionism? Because that's something that she really digs into in a lot of these essays.
Oh, yeah. And I think a lot of people, especially these days, can relate to that feeling of like always needing to be perfect, always striving for some unattainable ideal.
It's like this constant pressure we put on ourselves. And Philpott, she does a great job of showing how that kind of relentless pursuit of perfection can actually be pretty counterproductive.
hmm Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like when you're so afraid of making a mistake or not being good enough, you end up not even trying new things. You just stay stuck in your comfort zone.
Exactly. And that fear, it can really hold you back from growing and experiencing new things. It's like she says in one of her essays, sometimes good enough is perfect.
Oh, I like that. It's so true. And you know what else struck me about her take on perfectionism is how she links it to anxiety. Like that constant striving for flawlessness. It can actually fuel anxiety and make you feel even more inadequate.
For sure. She talks about how sometimes just letting go of the need to be perfect, it can be incredibly liberating. It can actually free up so much mental energy and allow you to just be yourself.
It makes you realize that imperfections are part of what make us human,
Right.
and that it's okay to not have everything figured out all the time.
So I think for anyone out there who struggles with perfectionism, Philpott's essays offer some really valuable insights. It's like she gives you permission to just breathe and be kind to yourself.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a really good reminder that we're all works in progress, and that's okay.
Now, shifting gears a bit, another big theme that runs through I Miss You When I Blink is identity, specifically that ongoing journey of self-discovery.
Right. And I love how Philpott portrays this journey. It's not like a straight line from point A to point B. It's more like a winding path with all these unexpected twists and turns.
And detours and maybe a few U-turns thrown in for good measure.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes it so realistic. Because let's face it, life rarely goes according to plan.
Especially when you're trying to figure out who you are at the same time as juggling all of these other responsibilities, right? Like work, family, relationships. It's a lot.
It is. And you know what? One thing I really appreciated about Philpott's perspective is how she acknowledges that societal expectations play a role in all of this too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like those messages we get from our families, from the media, even from our friends about what we should be doing or who we should be.
It's like all these external voices can sometimes drown out our own inner compass.
Yeah.
And it can make it really hard to figure out what we truly want versus what we think we're supposed to want.
And those external expectations, they can be even more intense for women, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Philpott talks about that quite a bit, especially in the essays about motherhood.
Which brings us to another significant theme in the book. I mean, she doesn't shy away from the complexities of motherhood, does she? The joys and the challenges, the love and the exhaustion.
Nope, not at all. And I think that's what makes her writing on motherhood so refreshing. It's honest and relatable. It doesn't sugarcoat anything.
She talks about those moments of feeling overwhelmed, of questioning your own identity, of struggling to balance the demands of parenting with everything else in your life.
And I think those are feelings that a lot of mothers can relate to, even if they don't always talk about them. It's like she's giving voice to these often unspoken experiences.
For sure. And I think even for people who aren't parents, her essays on motherhood offer some valuable insights into the broader theme of how family dynamics can shape who we are.
Oh, totally. Because whether you're a parent or not, I mean, we all have families, right? And those relationships, They can be incredibly complex and have a profound impact on our lives.
Yeah. Like, think about those relationships with your siblings, your parents, your extended family. They all contribute to who you are, even if you don't always realize it.
It's like those early experiences, those family dynamics, they kind of lay the foundation for how we see ourselves and how we interact with the world.
Right. And I think Philpott does a really great job of exploring those nuances in her essays.
She does. And you know what else? All of this talk about identity and family, it kind of ties into another theme that's really central to I Miss You When I Blink.
Resilience, right. Like that ability to bounce back from setbacks and to adapt to change.
Exactly. Because life is full of curveballs. Things don't always go according to plan. And Philpott emphasizes that sometimes it's in those moments of uncertainty or even disappointment that we discover our true strength.
I love that. She talks about the courage it takes to let go of old expectations, to reinvent yourself, to embrace new possibilities.
And she does it in a way that's really inspiring. It's not like she's saying it's easy,
Yeah.
but she shows that it's possible.
Hmm.
And that sometimes those unexpected turns in life can actually lead us to something even better than what we had planned.
Definitely. So, thinking about Philpott's perspective on resilience, do any specific examples from her essays come to mind for you? Like moments where she really demonstrates that kind of adaptability and strength in the face of challenges?
Oh, there are a few. Like, remember the one where she talks about her decision to leave her stable corporate job to pursue a more creative path? I mean, talk about a leap of faith.
Right. And it wasn't like it was an easy decision for her either. She wrestled with it, she had
Yeah.
doubts, but ultimately she chose to trust her gut and to go after what she really wanted.
And I think that's a really powerful example of resilience because it would have been so much easier, so much safer to just stay in that comfortable job.
But she didn't. She chose to take a risk. And, I think that's something we can all learn from. Sometimes you got to be willing to step outside of your comfort zone to embrace the unknown in order to grow.
Totally. And you know what else is great about Philpott's writing? Her sense of humor.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, she's so witty. She can find the funny side of just about anything, even those situations that might seem really stressful or frustrating at the time.
Like, remember that essay about the disastrous attempt at making homemade bread? I mean, it was a total kitchen fail, but
Yeah.
she tells the story in such a hilarious way that you can't help but laugh along with her.
I know, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why her essays resonate with so many people, because she's not afraid to be vulnerable, to laugh at herself, to show that life is messy and imperfect, and that's okay.
It's like she gives you permission to do the same, to not take yourself too seriously.
Totally. And I think that's so important, especially in today's world where there's so much pressure to present this perfect image on social media and all that.
It's like she's a breath of fresh air. She's real, she's relatable, and she makes you feel like it's okay to be you, flaws and all.
No, I do think it's fair to say that I Miss You When I Blink might not be for everyone.
Oh, of course not. No book is.
Like someone who prefers a more traditional linear narrative might find the essay collection format a little bit choppy.
That's true. But I think the beauty of an essay collection is that you can kind of dip in and out of it. You don't have to read it cover to cover. You can just pick and choose the essays that speak to you.
And honestly, I think there's something in this collection for just about everyone, whether you're a parent, a student, a working professional, whatever your stage of life, you're bound to find some of Philpott's observations relatable.
Yeah, definitely. Now, speaking of relatable, there's another point I wanted to bring up. And that is the fact that Philpott's writing has sparked a lot of conversation about the pressures that modern adults face, particularly women.
Especially women who are trying to juggle multiple roles, right? Like being a mother, a wife, a career woman, a friend, all at the same time.
It's like this expectation that women have to be everything to everyone. And Philpott, she doesn't shy away from addressing that pressure.
And I think that's why her work has resonated with so many women, because it's like she's giving voice to those feelings of overwhelm, of inadequacy, of just trying to keep all the plates spinning.
And it's not just about women either, right? I mean, I think a lot of men can relate to those feelings of pressure and overwhelm as well.
Absolutely. I think anyone who's ever felt like they're not measuring up or like they're not doing enough can find something meaningful in Philpott's writing.
For sure. And you know what? It's really inspiring to see how her work has fostered a sense of community among readers.
It's like she's created this space where people can come together and say, hey, I'm not perfect either, and that's okay.
And I think that's such a powerful message because in a world that often feels very isolating, it's so important to know that you're not alone.
Absolutely. So, for anyone listening who's intrigued by what we've discussed today, we definitely recommend checking out I Miss You When I Blink by Mary Laura Philpott. And if you're looking for other books that explore similar themes, that whole idea of navigating the complexities of modern life and finding your own path, we've got a few suggestions for you.
Yeah, like maybe, maybe you should talk to someone by Lori Gottlieb. She's a therapist, and her book offers some really fascinating insights into human behavior and the search for meaning.
Or Untamed by Glennon Doyle. That one's all about breaking free from societal expectations and embracing your true self.
And if you're looking for a really funny and heartwarming take on mental health, definitely check out Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson.
And for a powerful story about resilience and self-discovery, you can't go wrong with Educated by Tara Westover.
And last but not least, there's Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed. That one's a collection of advice columns, and it's full of wisdom and compassion for anyone navigating life's challenges.
So many good books out there. Anyway, as we wrap up our deep dive into I Miss You When I Blink, I think it's safe to say that Mary Laura Philpott has a lot of really important things to say about the human experience.
Definitely. And I think one of the biggest takeaways from her work is the importance of self-compassion, like being kind to ourselves, embracing our imperfections, and acknowledging that we're all just doing the best we can.
She really encourages us to let go of that need for perfection and to find joy in the messy, imperfect beauty of life.
Exactly. And I think that's a message we could all use a little more of these days.
So, on that note, we'd love to leave you with one final thought. Thinking about all the pressures and expectations that Philpott explores in her essays, what's one small thing you can do today to be a little kinder to yourself?
Because at the end of the day, it's all about finding that balance, right? Between striving for our goals and accepting ourselves for who we are, flaws and all.
So, go out there and be kind to yourselves, everyone, and keep those conversations going.